Welcome to our channel. You know, it's one of the wildest ideas in gardening. To get a better harvest, you first have to, well, you have to hurt your plant. Today, we're diving into a technique that seriously looks like pure destruction, but it might just be the secret to a perfect crop.
It really is a fair question, right? I mean, why would you ever intentionally strip a plant of its leaves? It seems to fly in the face of everything we learned in biology class, but so many successful growers swear by it. Stick around because the science behind this paradox is absolutely fascinating.
So let's start with this central puzzle, what we're calling the gardener's paradox. This is where good old-fashioned common sense seems to clash with a really controversial but incredibly powerful cultivation technique.
Now, traditional plant science tells us that leaves are everything, right? They're the solar panels. They soak up light, create sugar, and basically fuel the entire plant. So logically, if you remove them, you'd think you're just reducing the plant's energy and hurting your final yield. Simple enough?
Well, not so fast. In the world of high-value crops, the economic reality is completely different. In this context, any leaves that aren't directly helping to create the valuable flowers can actually become a liability. They're a drain on the plant's precious energy budget.
And this really brings us to the core of the debate. Are all leaves these amazing, helpful powerhouses, or can some of them actually turn into energy vampires?
To really get this, we have to think about leaves in two totally different ways. You've got your source leaves up top. They're bathed in direct light, and they're like little overachievers, making way more energy than they need and sending all that extra juice to the flowers. But then you have the sink leaves. They're stuck down in the shade, and they're actually consuming more energy than they produce just to stay alive, literally draining resources away from where you want them to go.
And there's a scientific name for this tipping point. It's called the light compensation point. As soon as the light hitting a leaf drops below this critical level, it officially stops paying its own energy bills. It becomes a parasite on the rest of the plant.
So the first huge argument for defoliation, which is just the strategic removal of these leaves, is really a battle for light. And light is the most precious resource you have in a dense indoor garden. Get this, in a thick cannabis canopy, that top layer of big fan leaves can act like a solid green umbrella, blocking over 95% of the light from ever getting to the lower parts of the plant. That's almost all of it.
And this isn't just a hunch, it's a literal law of physics. The Beer-Lambert law is a formula that proves exactly how quickly light just disappears as it tries to get through layers of leaves. This means growers can actually use science to fight back against the shade.
And here's the strategy in action. By carefully removing that leafy umbrella, growers can basically flood the entire plant with light. This wakes up all those sleepy lower flower sites and helps create a much more even, uniform crop. It ensures the plant's energy is going into valuable flowers instead of that worthless, underdeveloped stuff often called larf.
Okay, but it gets even more interesting. It's not just about managing light. The physical act of removing leaves actually triggers a powerful survival instinct in the plant. We can call it stress for success. Think about it. When you do this, you're mimicking an attack from an insect or maybe a hungry animal. This tricks the plant into thinking it's in danger, and it kicks its natural defense mechanisms into high gear. This whole process is basically a brilliant biochemical hack. When a leaf gets removed, the plant releases a defense hormone called Jasmonic acid. That hormone is like a system-wide emergency alarm, telling the plant to ramp up production of its chemical armor, which just so happen to be the very cannabinoids and terpenes that give the final product its potency and aroma.
And the benefits just keep coming. As you can see, removing leaves dramatically improves airflow, which is a huge deal for preventing nasty fungal diseases. It also helps manage humidity and can even encourage the plant to grow into a bushier shape with more places for flowers to grow. We're about to get into the hard data that proves all of this. And if you're finding these insights useful, please like and subscribe. It really helps our channel a lot.
So the theory sounds great, right? But what does the data actually say? Let's take a look at the results from a controlled experiment.
This chart is really telling. If you look at the control group, where they just left the plant alone, you get a low marketable yield and a high risk of disease. But with targeted defoliation, you see a big increase in sellable A-grade flower, higher potency, and a much lower risk of problems.
And here is the hard data from a side-by-side experiment. It's crystal clear. The tent with the defoliated plants produced a significantly heavier harvest of usable product compared to the tent that was left alone.
That's an 8.8% increase in high-quality, sellable yield. That is a huge difference, and it's achieved just by strategically removing leaves at the right time.
And here's the kicker. The potency went up too. And this wasn't a fluke. Every single strain they tested came back with higher THC levels in the defoliated group. You can see right here with the Platinum Cookie strain, that jump in potency is really significant. So, we circle back to our original question. Is this destruction, or is it a calculated strategy? Well, the science really suggests it's an incredibly powerful tool. It lets a grower strategically reroute the plant's energy, forcing it to focus on what matters most. Quality over just sheer quantity. It's the gardener's paradox, in action. Hit that like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. This content does not constitute medical advice, legal advice, or recommendations for the use, self-treatment, or consumption of any substance.